Welcome to Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barito. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister meets with dignitaries at 3rd CELAC Summit in Cuba. Customs and Excise Division to get a boost in personnel. And National Energy Education Caravan 2014 launched. Thank you for joining us. Prime Minister the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar attended the opening ceremony of the Caribbean and Latin American Summit, CELAC, in Havana, Cuba. On Tuesday, Cuba's President Raul Castro welcomed Mrs. Persad-Bissessar and the Trinidad and Tobago delegation to the opening ceremony. The Prime Minister was greeted by United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. She arrived in Cuba on Tuesday morning at the Jose Marti International Airport, Havana, where a welcome ceremony was held. The CELAC Summit runs from January 26 to 29th, and topics such as poverty and inequality will be addressed. However, it's expected that the topic of trade and migration, among other themes, will be discussed.
They arrived at the conference center, greeted by a presidential handshake. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon in the lineup as a special guest and a personality that brings to Havana growing endorsement for this relatively young hemispheric assembly. Entering with Foreign Minister Winston Ducaran, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar was among a majority of CARICOM leaders attending, and judging from her opening salvo on Cuban soil late Monday night, it would seem that she is determined to apply the brakes on the serious issue of illicit drugs and their byproducts entering Trinidad and Tobago, hoping that Cuba, with whom CARICOM and Trinidad and Tobago in particular have had long-standing friendly relations, will be the place to hatch a more concrete anti-narco plan. Before the speeches, the guests were treated to a burst of pulsating Cuban rhythms that included a borrowed bit of Calypso Rose's famous ditty, Fire, Fire. In opening the conference, host President Raul Castro paid glowing tribute to the late Hugo Chavez, saying his advocacy for independence, solidarity, integration, and the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean will forever be remembered. He then proposed a moment of silence in his honor. In reviewing his tenure as chair, President Castro said the period has been complex but fruitful. He said CELAC operates in a global community where peace is under greater threat and sister nations are the object of unilateral, cohesive measures and international lawsuits due to legitimate actions taken to defend their sovereignty. Citing mind-boggling ECLAC figures of poverty and hunger in the hemisphere, the Cuban leader said whilst these run into the millions, within CELAC are the means, resources, and methodologies to resolve all the social ills that affect its respective member countries. The leaders are in caucus and will this evening visit the Palace of the Revolution for a cultural show and formal dinner. From Havana, Cuba, this is Gideon Hanumansing reporting.
Meanwhile, on Sunday before her departure to Cuba, the Prime Minister attended the Vogue Italia Gala event where she gave the feature address. She believes that fashion can be the future of Trinidad and Tobago as the sector still has tremendous potential. She made this bold claim as local fashion designs were displayed to editors from international fashion magazine Vogue Italia, hosted by Creative TT.
Creative TT, the newly formed state company responsible for the development of the fashion and design industry, recently held its first industry event titled Masquerade. The show sought to show off Trinidad and Tobago's creative design talents to a team from Vogue Italia magazine. Vogue Italia is considered the most iconic and influential fashion magazine in the world and is the most fashion-forward version of Vogue magazine. When Vogue Italia releases its spring-summer issue in May, Trinidad will become the first ever Caribbean island to be used as a feature location for a multi-page fashion spread in the magazine. Addressing guests at the event, including Vogue Italia editors, Prime Minister Kamla Persad Bissessa says the fashion industry has an important role to play in the diversification of the economy.
Despite much being said in years, my government's approach was to not only engage stakeholders, but also to carve a very clear pathway for the success of the creative sector in TNT. And it is not simply because we believe that this sector is important, it is because we know it is important. And we have significant evidence that points to you becoming an increasingly strong partner in how our economy will be sustained in the years to come. This means that you are more than fashionably important. We believe that you are in fact one of the key sectors to help us to shift our economy into a more diversified and prosperous future for the economic system.
Prime Minister Persad Bissessa indicates there is empirical evidence to support the claim that fashion can move the country forward.
Today, the fashion industry employs more than 11,000 persons, either directly or indirectly, and generates in excess of $25 million annually. Our fashion industry is becoming increasingly diverse, with linkages to sectors such as beauty, cosmetics and perfume manufacturing, model management, fashion and image consulting, retail, fashion photography, beauty culture, and event management. The cross-sector linkages are also growing and strengthening between the local fashion industry and the entertainment and tourism industry. Today, Creative TT's partnership with Vogue Italia quite convincingly delivers the point that our sector still has tremendous potential to be explored.
Mrs. Persad Bissessa assures that the government remains committed to developing the industry, so much so that changes have been made to the education sector to ensure growth in the industry.
The formation of Trinidad and Tobago Creative Industries Company, Creative TT, heralded our deep commitment to this initiative with a guiding mandate to stimulate and facilitate the business and export activities of the creative industries in Trinidad and Tobago to help generate national wealth. Consolidating that commitment, my government has also remodeled its approach to first degree level training in fashion through the University of Trinidad and Tobago. Initially, the fashion program at the University of Trinidad and Tobago focused on only training, but my government felt it important for a transformation of the program to include entrepreneurship and exposure for student designers.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
When we come back, a boost in personnel at the Customs and Excise Division. Stay with us. Enhancing the capabilities of the Customs and Excise Division to protect the integrity of trade in Trinidad and Tobago has always been a top priority of the government. This notion has been emphasized by the Honorable Larry Hawai, Minister of Finance and the Economy, on the observance of International Customs Day 2014.
For this year's observance of International Customs Day, long-serving customs officers were honored by the government for their years of service. Speaking at the event, the Honorable Larry Hawai, Minister of Finance and the Economy, revealed that 60 new officers have been assigned to the Customs and Excise Division, adding that these persons will be in place by the beginning of March. Minister Hawai said this number will be increased in the coming months. According to him, the Customs and Excise Division can also expect to move into a fully outfitted building before the end of the year, as preliminary works have already started. Minister Hawai said his ministry was also developing new training programs to enhance the capability of officers and their sensitivity to the concerns of the traveling public and legitimate business enterprises. On the issue of security, Minister Hawai made reference to the 4 mobile container scanners that are expected to be delivered from the United States by the end of June 2014. He also lauded government's investment in arranging a large X-ray scanner from the government of China, which has been delivered and will be fully in place on the port within the next month. This was done through the Ministry of Trade and Industry. Minister Hawai said these mobile container scanners will improve customs' ability to closely monitor shipments, both entering and leaving the various ports. He noted that the integration of the Single Electronic Window (SEW) and the Automated Systems for Custom Data (ASICUDA) are at an advanced stage and full integration is expected by the end of February, adding that the amendments to the Customs Act will allow for the exchange of advanced cargo and passenger information that facilitates faster clearance from the air and seaports. Felicia Wilson-Moore, News 4.
Great emphasis is being placed on ensuring that young persons understand why it is important to change their habits and attitudes toward the energy sector. The Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs is securing the sector's future as it launched the 2014 National Energy Education Caravan.
Students of East Trinidad embraced the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs Schools Education Campaign and Lightbulb Exchange Initiative. Senator the Honorable Kevin Ramnarine launched the National Energy Education Caravan at Hillview College, Tunapuna on Friday.
This morning we're here to talk about the relationship between energy and society, because by and large, after 2.5 years as Minister of Energy, I have come to the conclusion that the country needs to have a better understanding of its main economic sector, the energy sector. Now, the energy sector accounts for 44% of your country's economy. It accounts for 50% of government revenue. So 50 cents on every dollar of government revenue comes from one sector, the energy sector. And 20 to 25 cents on every dollar of government revenue comes from one company, BP, in Trinidad and Tobago. So BP is the country's largest taxpayer.
At the launch, the minister presented a brief overview of the energy sector. He even explained the many ways in which the energy sector has a profound effect on the daily lives of citizens and specifically that of students.
Many of you all will go on to university and enjoy and benefit from the GATE program. And many of the countries in the world that we know of, the great United States and so on, and Canada, you have to pay for tertiary education in those countries. In Trinidad and Tobago, tertiary education is free. And that is as a consequence of the prosperity of the country, which comes directly from natural gas and oil.
The Honourable Minister then accepted questions from sixth form pupils in a Minister's Question Time session. These questions spanned many topics relevant to the energy sector in Trinidad and Tobago. Before the event came to a close, the pupils were given the chance to participate in the ministry's successful light bulb exchange, where they traded in one incandescent bulb for an energy-saver bulb. The Energy Caravan is a pilot project, and 4 events in Trinidad and Tobago are already planned over the next 5 months. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
Joseph Lopez has 40 Carnival. That's up next. Stay with us.
San Fernando, get ready. On the Friday, 31st January, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service rolls into Harris Promenade with its I Road Safe campaign 2014. Heading out to fet or hang with friends for the season? Then come visit our road safety village and be self-aware as you hit the road. Be part of the action. Games, prizes, and lots of giveaways in store. Be advised, be wise, make sure your road's safe and stay alive. Friday, 31st January, 10 a.m., Harris Promenade, San Fernando. Don't miss it.
Ultimate Events Limited's all-inclusive party OneFed 2014 theme, the last one, was indeed the last of its kind. The event took place at the Queen's Park Oval over the last weekend.
The Queen's Park Oval is home to OneFed, so there is no place to end it with a bang. On Saturday last, Ultimate Events hosted OneFed, the last one. With huge anticipation for this event, it was said that they were going to be pulling out all the stops and giving patrons the best OneFed to end its reign. What's the real reason behind ending OneFed, an all-inclusive which most people look out for in the carnival calendar? We know each fete has its lifetime, but has OneFed considered its expiry date? Or maybe the promoters at Unlimited Events are up to a new exciting project on the carnival agenda for 2015.
I understand that this is the last OneFed. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. It is. They announced it several times.
But how is this going to affect the scheme of Carnival, Fets for Carnival? Because this is one fete a lot of people usually look forward to.
Pardon?
I said this is one fete that people usually look forward to.
True, but I don't think it will affect Carnival or any of the other fetes because there are other fetes as well that people want to participate in. So I don't think it will affect them, but it's something that people will miss.
The area at the Oval is spacious enough, and once utilized properly, the potential of the venue is endless. The QPO was easy to access without any major traffic concerns, and with Curaçao All-Inclusive simultaneously happening a few blocks away, there were no disturbances to One Fete patrons. News 4 stumbled on some soca artists who were chilling in the crowd.
Hey, Devon, what's up?
Cool, man. Everything nice, man. Real.
Are you working tonight or are you just patronizing?
Well, I just come to enjoy the last one. This is the last one, so I decided I'm going to come and enjoy this last one, and then we're going to work after. Fire Fete and all these other things. It's really great. I mean, music, everything pumping. I'm loving it. I'm loving the energy. It's a long carnival and it's going to be a long run, and I just enjoying every day, every night of it.
Well, you have some really great tunes this year. I mean, not that you've never had great tunes, but yes, you seem to be being very consistent. How have you been able to keep up with what's happening in the soca arena?
I mean, doing research and listening to music all through here, being on the radio too as well. Open up my ears to a lot of stuff, different songs and different sound. And that's why I was trying to work on for the entire year, because I've been recording since Carnival 1. So I was prepared for when the season come to play, like Casa, just have songs and just jumping on it.
What are you doing here? Did you perform tonight?
Yes, I did. We actually started One Fete tonight, so it was great. It was great. This is the last one, so we had to be here because I've been performing in One Fete from the start.
How has the season been for you thus far?
Wonderful. I must give props to my GBM team. All of us performed tonight. GBM Detroit, Jaiga, myself, Charles Marshall. We had a blast.
Then stellar performances came from Cohen Dubois. The Zena dancers even gave a little dance number showcasing their talent.
Eat, sleep, rave, repeat.
Eat, sleep, rave, repeat. Eat, sleep, rave, repeat. Eat, sleep.
The main acts were Bungie Garlin and Machelle Montano with full band performances. Both artists were extremely well received. As usual, decor was first class. The entrance set the tone for the entire night, as it was glazed with neon and iridescent embellishments and water fountains, giving a chic finish. Special areas throughout the venue were similarly fashioned, mostly the VIP area. As advertised, all the drinks mentioned were readily available at the bar. The lines at the main bar were not long and staff were efficient in getting you the Johnny Walker Gold and a wide array of other drinks. A nice mixture within the age demographic, and everyone fully enjoyed themselves no matter what creed, race or stature in society. Present at One Fete were other dignitaries in the crowd, too many to mention. The party crept its way to full pump after a few hours of mingling. As with any all-inclusive, the first thing on the agenda is to sample as much food as possible, socialize with the crowd a little bit, and get as much drinks, your $800 or more, paid for. The fete wasn't too rammed out, therefore patrons had freedom to enjoy themselves without being overcrowded like what was experienced at Stomped the weekend before. One Fete was a huge success overall. The decor was on point and the party had vibes. If you are familiar with the aesthetics of all-inclusives and One Fete, then you know where I am coming from. Joseph Lopez, News 4.
That's our Carnival correspondent extraordinaire Joseph Lopez at the last one Fete. We take a break and come back. Stay with us. As we wrap up, members of the Trinidad and Tobago Medical Fraternity are celebrating the country's accomplishments as it relates to diabetes study and research. The members met at the Trinidad and Tobago Health Sciences Initiative's outreach program recently to share their findings of the intensive 2-year study of local diabetic patients.
Since 2008, the Ministry of Health has partnered with Johns Hopkins Medicine International to address Trinidad and Tobago's severe problems with diabetes. After a 2-year intense study with local patients, looking at how the disease affected them personally, socially, economically, coupled with an imperfect health system, the results show that conditions such as depression, physical inactivity and smoking were major barriers to self-care among Trinidad and Tobago residents. Speaking at the event, the Honorable Dr. Fuad Khan, the Minister of Health, paid special tribute to the team from Johns Hopkins Medicine International and the Ministry of Tertiary Education, who first engaged the team at Johns Hopkins.
They did a very good job of bringing it to the front burner, showing us that for years we've had in this country diabetes and diabetic problems, amputations, diabetic retinitis, retinopathies, cataracts, and all the complications of diabetes. They were able to take the inefficiencies of the system, expose the inefficiencies of the system, and develop a plan of action on those inefficiencies to bring it to the forefront, as we are hearing, where nurses were trained, doctors were trained, and everyone was trained in a direction of prevention and research.
Minister Khan said now that this part of the study has concluded, the next step is to develop a workable plan.
Diabetes, as we all know, has been around for a very long time, and I am very interested in utilizing whatever research that we can do, because Mr. Lidison and the Johns Hopkins team, they have developed what we call the Academy of the Physicians for Diabetes. Dr. Claude Khan was the first president of that academy. The research part of it is what I'm interested in, as I was saying. I have Professor Owens. Professor Owens was a gem brought by Johns Hopkins team in the diabetic retinal screening program. And I must pay a little tribute to Ms. Nalisha Monroe, who brought Professor Owens to see me. Now I'm harping on this in a way because I think the genetics of what is happening among our populations is vital and very important to determine the causes of the problem.
The Academy of Diabetes Clinicians of Trinidad and Tobago, which was created by the outreach program, aims at standardizing the professional approach and guidelines to care for patients with diabetes. Also speaking at the function was Dr. Lakram Budu, chairman of the board of the Southwest Regional Health Authority, the SWRHA. Dr. Budu also praised the project, adding that the SWRHA has been making strides in implementing best practices when it comes to diabetes care.
After 5 years of strategic planning and execution, we are here today to witness the fruition of this project. What is noteworthy of mention is the success of the partnership between the SWRHA and the TTHSI in the implementation of this program, as there has been significant progress in providing research and training on best practices of diabetes care throughout the SWRHA. In June 2010, the TTSHI chose the SWRHA to become the first RHA to have this diabetic outreach program initiated. Being the largest RHA, catering for a population of almost 600,000 persons, indeed half the population of this country, we welcome this opportunity to be the forerunner of a project of such caliber, and as such, we are extremely thankful to have been selected by the Trinidad and Tobago Health Sciences Initiative to commence this diabetes outreach program.
Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.